Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the US alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow. Birds of prey are instantly recognized as predators.
Yeah, this is the golden eagle.
They are built to hunt and are some of the fastest animals on Earth. One man in Utah, USA, is closer to these birds than most of us are ever likely to be. Martin Tyner is not only a recognized expert on birds of prey, he also shares his life and his home with some unusual bird friends.
This is a prairie falcon. Her name is Cirrus. She is one of our desert falcons here in North America. She does live in the house. Basically, the reason she lives in the house is these animals are very wild, very high-strung, very difficult to deal with, and they require a lot of socialization, a lot of interaction with people in order to be comfortable, especially when I'm out doing wildlife programs in an audience of 500 to 1,000 people. The birds have to be comfortable. And so she comes in, she goes out in the daytime, but she comes in the house and hangs out and watches TV with the family, and she's just truly a member of the family. She's very sweet. She loves to talk to me. Hi, baby.
Martin is a master falconer and an educator, and he is heavily involved with the conservation of birds of prey. But he is very aware of the dangers of keeping these large birds, and he never forgets where they have come from.
This is in every respect. This is a wild animal. Even though you know she's worked with me and we get along wonderfully together, she still is wild. She still has a very strong fight or flight instinct. She's still instinctively afraid of humans. And so, but you know, being again in the house, in her location, strangers and cameras and things, that's pretty tough on her. And so the hood is actually her protection against stress. It just covers her eyes, so now she can kind of just sit quietly and she doesn't feel frightened.
Putting a small leather hood over the head of the bird instantly quietens them down and gives the bird a sense of security. Martin is an expert on the handling of birds, so taking his feather friend back to her pen is a simple procedure. Having a bird of prey as a pet might be a different story altogether.
It actually isn't quite like a dog or cat in that with a dog or cat, they have been domesticated. They want to be with you. They want to be your friend. When it comes to apex predators like this falcon and my eagle and my hawk that I fly, these animals don't necessarily like you. They don't necessarily want to be with you. They don't necessarily respect you in any way, shape, fashion, or form. But what they do is they exploit you. So the truth of the matter is she's the hunter, I'm her dog. You know, falconry is one of very, very few relationships between man and wildlife that's mutually beneficial. We don't own these birds in any way, shape, fashion, or form. We serve them well. And that's the only reason they come back.
Many of the birds here are rescues or long-term patients needing rehabilitation. But some have been bred in captivity.
This is about as high-strung and difficult as you can deal with. and I've loved the challenge. She's really an amazing animal to work with. In no way is she a pet. She's strictly an apex predator, and you have to love that, but you never consider this a pet. She'll hurt you. There's my little BG. And as you can see, her posture is very, very different, even though I raised her. And this is probably one of the most important things I can show people, is even though I've raised her, and even though she is as captive a bird of prey as you'll ever find, high-bred hawk, every ounce of wild instinct is there. She acts very, very much like the wildest birds of prey that you'll ever see. And this particular bird, as long as we're hunting, she's a joy. But if I'm not serving her well, then she's a bit of a brat. The body language that she's saying here is that I will allow you to come hunting with me, but damn it, don't touch me. She is absolutely in charge. Now, again, on the head, I can touch her breast slowly, but even at that, hey, sweetie. Yes. But I have to watch those feet because that's what she kills with. Those razor-sharp talons is what she uses to kill with. And so she can bite, but the bite really isn't nearly as bad as the feet. Huh, baby? Yes, you're such a brat. But you're a goshawk, that's why, huh?
There is no doubt that Martin loves his birds, but one of them is his favorite. Scout is an American golden eagle and has been with Martin for over 15 years. Their relationship is unique and crosses the borders between pet ownership and a mutual respect between animal and human.
It's okay, Scout. Bounce, 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 bounce. It's all right. Come on here, guys. Wait for kids a little bit. Oh, boy. Come here. It's okay. I know, you gotta settle down. Here we go. I know. Come on. Settle in.
So,
That's my boy.
so this is an American golden eagle.
Yeah, this is the golden eagle. They are protected under the Federal Eagle Act, which is actually protection above the Endangered Species Act. And so the golden, the bald eagle, Scout, I know. They're okay. I know, you said I don't know what that stuff is and I don't like it. It's okay. It's my boy. It's my boy. It's okay. I know. Strangers in your house. This is the golden eagle. The farmer up in Wyoming was threatening to shoot him, and I was called in by the federal government to rescue him before he got shot. So this is, in every respect, a full-grown wild eagle. Shall we start from the bottom and work our way up, big guy? And you can look at these feet. You know, 600 pounds per square inch of crushing power in those feet. He can drive those talons through my glove and crush the bones in my hand. So it's really good he likes me. We appreciate that. These large chest muscles are the motors that he uses to drive that beautiful 6-foot wingspan. That beautiful 6-foot wingspan that allows eagles to fly where hawks and falcons cannot.
Eagles have been spotted at altitudes greater than 30,000 feet. Their strong eyesight is what enables them to be such precise and accurate hunters.
My eagle can see 8 times further than you can. And not only does he see 8 times further, he has 6 times the number of light-sensitive cells, the rods and cones on the back of the eye, so everything he sees is 6 times clearer. This eagle can spot a jackrabbit 5 miles away. And he does. We go out on the desert just north of town here. He flies free. He goes thousands of feet in the sky. He flies with the wild eagles, and he follows me as I flush out jackrabbits for him to catch. And so he flies like an eagle and hunts like an eagle. And then if we don't catch any rabbits, he knows he can fly back, land on my glove, I'll feed him anyway. One day he got a little confused. Thousands of feet in the sky, no rabbits to be found. It was time to go home. So I blew my whistle, threw his toy out on the ground, and my eagle went into a wonderful dive. Headlong, vertical, about 145 miles an hour. It was impressive. But it became apparent very quickly he wasn't going for his toy. He was coming for my arm. When I woke up, I was 6 feet back, laying face down in the dirt, with my eagle standing next to me, looking down at me to say, "Why are you laying there?" I had a long talk with my eagle that day, how I could not withstand the impact of an 8-pound bird at 145 miles an hour, and I would appreciate if he'd never do that again. He dislocated my shoulder and damaged my back and knees.
Looking after eagles does have its challenges. They are, after all, a major predator and can leave a nasty bite.
He's the hunter, I'm his dog, and he and I have been together now for 15 years, and so he's kept me for 15 years, so that's wonderful. This is truly an honor to be able to have literally your best friend is a wild golden eagle, and wild in every sense of the word, and to have the privilege of that wild animal coming right out of the sky, coming back to me, landing on my glove, and being able to understand him is something that's almost beyond words.
Martin often hand feeds sick or injured wild birds, nursing them back to health. But sometimes his care is not enough.
Those times when I do have to euthanize an eagle, it really tears me up, because, I've dedicated my whole life to rescuing them. And so quite often I have to just grab Scout, and we'll just sit out in a shady spot and we'll talk. Yeah, we'll get our feelings out. And to be honest with you guys, he doesn't care. It heals me. He doesn't understand, but it allows me to vent and to feel better. Yeah, he's such a good boy.
It could be easy to leave the story of Martin and his birds here, but there's much more to this man than just his love of birds. As we drive out to a remote desert area with a rehabilitated hawk in the back of his car, Martin is at his happiest. This is why he does what he does. The thrill of releasing a bird back into the wild is something he has experienced many times, and he passes this joy on to visitors and bird lovers whenever he can. The Southwest Wildlife Foundation of Utah was started by Martin to assist in returning eagles and other birds of prey back into the wild after injuries sustained mainly by human intervention. Over 100 birds a year are rehabilitated and returned to the wild, an incredible statistic considering that the person responsible for helping these animals was not always a big fan of birds.
Well, actually, as a child, I was terrified of them. My earliest childhood memory was such a horrible fear of birds. I had climbed up on the kitchen table at my grandparents' house. My grandfather had a pet parakeet, and as a little tiny toddler, I decided I'd pet the pretty green little bird in the cage. I stuck my hand in there and went to pet the bird, and the bird bit me. And I pulled away from the bird, and me and the cage and everything fell off the table and smashed everywhere, and it was traumatic, and that caused me to have a tremendous fear. And it was getting worse and worse. Every time I'd see even a sparrow fly overhead, I'd scream, run for the house.
Keeping a few birds for education and friendship is important to Martin, but he sees what we are doing today as being far more beneficial, especially after he has spent many weeks or months treating so many injured animals. But does he feel a loss when the birds just fly away?
I get asked all the time from people, you've put your heart and soul into rescuing these animals and they just fly away. Does that make you feel bad? And the truth of the matter is, no, that is my reward. Like I said, we don't get paid for this. My reward is the knowledge that there's one more beautiful eagle, hawk, owl, whatever, back in the sky. There's one more beautiful deer, or coyote, or fox back in the wild. That's my reward. It's always a really good day when I can turn something loose.
Today, Martin has enrolled some help with the latest release. It's an emotional moment, and neither of the men know quite what to expect.
You'll release the bird. You just follow my instructions, and you'll be perfectly safe. And I'll take the bird out of its box. I will hand the bird to you, and I'll show you how to hold it properly. And then we'll just walk over to the rock fence right there and hold the bird for as long as you're comfortable. And then all I want you to do is take the bird and just throw it.
Yeah.
And it should go. And you will be the last person on the planet to ever touch that beautiful hawk. Just hold it right into your chest. Yeah. Just like this. And then when you're ready to release her, then all you're going to do is just take her and just throw her right up in the air.
Okay.
So it's very, very simple. Let me strike this. And I don't want you releasing her with the hood on. That would be very bad.
No, that's not good.
Hey, sweetie, baby girl. Yes, you are. You're a baby girl. Such a sweetheart. Okay. Now I want you to put your hands underneath, your fingers underneath mine, and grab those feet. Grab both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, you got those. Hand on the back. And you've got a hawk in your arms.
Yeah.
And you will be, like I said, if all goes well, you'll be the last person on the planet to ever touch that beautiful animal.
Yeah, what a privilege. Yeah.
Let's go over here.
Martin is just as enthusiastic today releasing this bird as he has been for many years.
And with the wind blowing, it's probably going to go that way. Any opportunity to escape, she'll take it, and she'll fight with you, and she'll try to escape. But right now, she doesn't think she has an option.
Yeah, just to keep the pressure on there.
Yes.
I've probably got more pressure than you would ever have. You ready,
I know
guys?
it's a little intimidating, but there you go.
No, it's not intimidating. It's just interesting. Yeah, it's great. Whenever you're ready, guys.
Yeah, and I'm ready on my end. Jules?
Yeah. So I still hold the legs.
Just move it away from your chest,
Yeah.
and throw it up and release the legs at the same time.
Okay, here we go. She's landed.
Almost, but she will land. Now she's going to, well, maybe she'll catch a little ridge lift and continue going up. She's still going. Yeah, she's going to go up. She's catching some ridge lift over there.
Wow. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
That's a privilege. Yeah.
That's what I do. I just
Yeah, you're
care
lucky
for
man.
critters and put them back in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience. Yeah, amazing. I've never let anything go before. Tend to keep them and eat them.
Well, like I said, this has been my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, my misguided life. It's
Yeah.
just what I do.
No, it's a great thing to do. Yeah,
I think
it's
so.
a great thing to do. No, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Very.
A baby ferret can be like bringing home 2 toddlers. If you don't know what you're getting, you see this cute little animal. Our first one, we had to replace all the children's beds. We had to replace all the carpets in their bedrooms. Oh, I didn't know anything. I'd be cleaning my teeth and she'd be climbing up and eating the soap. You need to know what you're doing before you do it, or it's dangerous. You look at those teeth. Look at ferrets' teeth. They're designed to chew and to crush bones. I tell everybody ferrets bite.
Domesticated from the European polecat, the ferret's fluffy appearance and playful nature make it seem an unlikely predator. Yet ferrets are such adept predators that they have been used for centuries to hunt rabbits.
This is what they used back in the Dark Ages and back in the 1800s. These things hunted rabbits for wealthy people, but these were bred in captivity in Europe hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
The ferrets are taken and put down the holes, and they chase the rabbits out. They put nets across the holes so that the rabbits just go straight up into the nets. And that was why ferrets were first brought to Australia. They came out with their settlers.
They were also popular for pest control in cities. flushing out and killing rats, and even helping with rat bolting, a method used to chase wires through buildings. Ferrets are still used for rabbit hunting today, although they are far more commonly seen as house pets. Jo is the rescue coordinator for the Western Australian Ferret Society. She currently cares for 17 ferrets, many of whom can't be rehomed.
This is Gator. Gator will not use his back legs. He eats, drinks, he's happy. But yeah, most of these are all rescues for one reason or another. We get quite a few each year. There are a lot of reasons why people surrender them. They're not prepared is one of the big ones. This is a little rescue girl. We knew where our owners were, but they never came forward to claim them. So she stays.
Ferrets are small and mostly domesticated, and many, like Jo, see them as an attractive and rewarding pet despite their bite.
They're great. They're a combination between a cat and a dog. They've got the curiosity of a cat, and that's what gets them in trouble. There's always what's over there, or what's, you know, what's this or what's that, and they're too busy looking at everything. You know, everything is fast forward for a ferret. But they've got the loyalty, the love, the intelligence of a dog. It's like it's all rolled into this tiny little fur ball.
Ferrets are best known for their bad smell and their bad bite. And at first, even Jo wasn't keen on the idea of a ferret as a pet.
A friend of our daughter, my youngest daughter, who was, I think when she was 5, she wanted a ferret. We weren't going to have one. I used to think that they were the worst creature ever put on the earth. And a friend purchased her one. And we hit the roof. There was no way in the world my husband and I were going to have a stinky, horrid ferret in my house. And then they brought her home and put her in my hands, and it was instant love. I just fell in love with her.
In Las Vegas, exotic pets employee, Georgia, is another fan of the ferret. She has 9 of them herself.
Essentially, they're kind of like a puppy or a kitten, and they never really grow up in the fact that they're always playful. They love to like have attention and just interact. They're pretty easy to take care of, and they're really fun and interactive. I mean, they're sleepy right now, but you can wrestle with them, you can play with them, and they're more than happy to play back. And they're really interactive.
Their boisterous nature means that ferrets can be quite a handful. Jo has fostered dozens over the years, and it's taken all of those years of experience to get the hang of keeping them as pets.
Toilet seats. You know, it's toilet doors. People leave seats up and doors open. It's just something a lot of places do. You need to put the seat down and close the door because the little buggers will get in it because of their curiosity, what's in there. But yeah, they'll climb brick walls.
In the US, ferrets are such a popular pet. They're the biggest seller in Ken Foose's exotic pet store in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas is the #1 city that sells ferrets in the world. Reno is #2. Why? Because 99.9% of our ferrets go to California because they're illegal in California. 99% of the ferrets in Reno go to California. They take care of the Bay Area, we take care of San Diego and Los Angeles. Ferrets are illegal to own in California. I don't ask them where they live.
California has banned the keeping of pet ferrets, fearing that if released into the wild, they will decimate the local flora and fauna, as they did in New Zealand, where the fuzzy predators are also prohibited.
When someone comes in and buys a ferret, they pick it up, we give it to them in a box, they walk out the door with it. They're the ones crossing the state line with a banned animal, not me. And I think in all the years, I think we've had one person that got caught at the state line with one. And we sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ferrets. And we get that a lot where they'll say, hey, we want to buy a ferret, we live in Fresno, will you ship us a ferret? And I say, absolutely not. You want a ferret? Drive down here and get it. And they do.
Members of the weasel family, ferrets are obligate carnivores and in the wild will feed on small mammals and birds. In captivity, they still need to be fed a meat-only diet.
I always tell people, think of a T-Rex in a little version. So it's raw meat, day-old chickens, mice. Yeah, my guys have the raw meat and the chicken hearts and chicken giblets, and they like them. They need to chew.
And it turns out that if ferrets aren't properly fed, they may look for an alternative and very vulnerable food source. In 2011, a 4-month-old baby boy from Grain Valley, Missouri, was left in critical condition after a hungry pet ferret ate 7 of his fingers. His parents were charged with criminal neglect. A 1-month-old baby girl left unattended downstairs in her Pennsylvania home in 2015 had her nose, upper lip, and cheek eaten by the family's 3 pet ferrets. And in Lancashire, England, a 10-month-old baby girl needed hospital treatment after she was savaged in her pram by a ferret. Having looked after hundreds of ferrets over the years, Joe maintains that their biting is rarely aggressive.
They'll bite when they're frightened. They bite to protect themselves, but they'll also bite to play. One of their favourite games is tag chasey, but they can only tag you with their teeth. It's a form of communication for them. I mean, look, there's 17 ferrets in this house at the moment and there's not a mark on me. They'll come up to you and they'll use their teeth and they'll just go like that. But some people, they don't know it, they've never seen it before, they think they're attacking it. The minute they use their teeth, they're biting them. But generally, they'll only bite because they're frightened. That's it. And once you know how to handle that, you're fine. Again, that's being prepared. See? Not a mark. So he's playing with me, but he uses his teeth. So, but for some people, that's enough to say they've been bitten. But it's not. It's a way that he's communicating with me. Good boy.
Like our producer, Joe has also experienced the ferret that bites and won't let go.
Ow!
You got it, you can get out of it.
Good, I can't. Ow, 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 hi, ow. Oh, look.
Their jaws can lock. I've had one hanging here. And I got in between a ferret fight, and she was just lashing out, and she grabbed me here without realising it was me. And it's just like, let go, let go, let go, let go. And then she did, and she let go, and she just looked at me and she said, oh, what have I done? And then it was, yeah, but just take them, don't pull it off, don't scream, because you're just going to frighten them more. Get a cold water tap and just gently drop it on their head.
Their cute appearance can also foster a feeling of complacency. Don't be fooled. These creatures bite hard. And even though they may appear to have given up on their prey, they'll happily come back for another round.
Gator, you are no longer my favourite ferret, mate. Ah.
Oh, that's nasty, that one. Oh,
They spit and
that's a
everything.
nasty one.
They can bite if they wanted to, but they usually don't. It's sneezy. Sometimes when they're babies, they'll nibble a little bit harder and you gotta teach them, but they take the training pretty well. They can learn basic commands and stuff too.
Ferrets' high intelligence make them both effective predators and attractive pets.
They're incredible, they're intelligent, never underestimate them. We've got people teach them to do rollover tricks, walk on a lead. I've seen them get across from one corner of this backyard to the back corner without getting a drop of the sprinkler on them. And the sprinklers were going like this at the time and they would just time it perfectly. Or this door, they couldn't open the door, the girls, because they were smaller, couldn't open the doors. So they'd go and get the big boy Fred and he'd come and open the door. So yeah, don't underestimate them. If they want something, they'll work out exactly how to get it.
And the ferret's sharp teeth and strong jaws aren't its only defense.
Yeah, everybody's got a different personality. And you have personality clashes and, yeah, The arguments and, I don't like you, go away. Lots of screaming. That's when they drop their stink bombs. That's another form of defence for them. But that's it, that's all they've got. And they're such tiny little creatures. It stinks, but it's not like a skunk. It will dissipate.
With 17 ferrets and not a bite mark on her, Jo clearly has a special relationship with her tiny predators. And she has her own theories about ferret owners.
The amount of people that get ferrets, something's happened to them emotionally. Yeah, I don't know what it is or why it is, but they get them. Is it because they're so misunderstood? And people think that, these people think that they're misunderstood or I don't know what it is, but there's something, some connection. And my mother swears I would have had a mental breakdown at some stage in my life. And it was just them that's kept me sane, because I'll just go and sit and curl up with them. It's like having a pretzel or a chip. One is never enough. You always take more.
Zebras Are Us is home to Dominic Ferrero, a zebra-crazy animal lover who's dedicated her life to caring for and breeding these striped horses.
I've always been raised with animals. My passion for exotics started when I was young. I always liked zebras and I was raised with horses. And it became a thing where I was a crazy horse kid that wanted a zebra, and people said, no, you can never own a zebra. That's crazy. I got shut down so many times, and look where I'm at now. I think I have some of the most unique animals in the country.
Dominique began caring for exotic animals straight out of high school. She purchased her first zebra in 2003 and has been growing her herd ever since. Her passions quickly extended beyond zebras, and her property in Texas is now home to a successful rescue and breeding program and houses over 45 zebras, as well as herds of water buffaloes, camels, deer, goats, and horses.
I love my zebras. I will be the crazy zebra lady. I already am, but I'm gonna be the really good one when I'm older. There are certain types of zebras. There's actually a mountain zebra, there's a Grevy zebra, a Grant zebra, and a Chapman, Damara type zebra. We have all the types here, so it's pretty unique to get to interact with them and see the personality differences, because they are different.
No two zebras have the same stripes. In fact, their stripes are just like human fingerprints, unique to each animal.
Each zebra has different characteristics. The Grevy zebra is known for the large ears. He looks like Mickey Mouse. And they have a white stomach, and their stripes are vertical, and they have a white belly. And then we have the mountain zebra, which looks somewhat like a pony, that has a medium-sized ear and really fat, beautiful stripes on the rump. It kind of does a zigzag pattern, and it does also have a white stomach. The Grant zebra has full belly stripes, and they're thicker, and they do go vertically and horizontally. They're a smaller type zebra. And then the Damara type Chapman zebra actually has zebra stripes on its body, and they typically have white legs, no stripes. So you can definitely, if you point all of them out and stand them together, there's obvious differences, you can tell.
Two of the species of zebra that Dominic houses are endangered, the mountain zebra and the Grevy zebra. Due to their need to compete with livestock for food, the destruction of their habitat for farmland, and hunting, mountain zebra populations have previously reached as low as 750 individuals worldwide. Fortunately, current numbers are back up to around 2,000, and part of Dominique's work involves breeding these animals in the hope of keeping the population growing. In addition to breeding these highly sought-after creatures, Dominique sells her much cared-for charges to other exotic animal owners who are looking to expand their own herds after a thorough screening process, of course.
It's amazing. The relationship you can have with a zebra is one in a million. It's a very hard process to screen potential owners. I feel that people that go into exotic animal ownership, you really have to be passionate. And I can tell that in someone's voice when they call. It's the people that want to ride them or go in parades and do things. It's like you set yourself up and the animal for failure. So I try to screen all the clients and really talk to them and tell them what they're getting into. And if at the end of the day, you're satisfied looking out in your beautiful pasture with 2 beautiful zebras grazing on the grass, you will never have an unhappy day with a zebra. You will love that animal. And I invite everybody out here to come see and really know if this is an animal that they want to get into. You know, you need to think about vet work and what if something happens, what are you gonna do? You know, you have to have those plans and stuff. I do not want to get my zebras back. I want them, when they leave this property, I've raised them, I want them in a forever home.
It's not just humans that need screening when it comes to the sale of Dominic's zebras. Zebras are wild creatures, and attacks on humans, when they get too close, aren't uncommon.
With owning zebras, there is an element of danger. You always really do have to be careful. When I first started getting into zebras, I was very ignorant. I ended up in possession of a zebra that was very dangerous, 3-year-old stallion, and he was represented to me as the best zebra in the world. It even said that on the ad. And I had the animal at my house for less than 10 hours, and that zebra viciously attacked me. He bit me in the neck. He took some neck muscles off. I was in the emergency room, and it was quite an ordeal.
Zebras defend themselves by rearing, biting, and kicking. In the wild, they have even killed lions, often by breaking their jaws so they starve to death.
I've been kicked by camels, zebras, horses, anything you can imagine. I've gotten kicked, and that bite sure gets you. That bite'll do it. But to this day, it was the best experience that's ever happened to me. Thank God for my life, and everything's fine, but I learned so much from that day. I learned that you really have to respect these animals, and it can happen at any minute. And I think education is very important. You really need to be aware of what's going on, and it goes back to not having unrealistic expectations. If you plan on loving that animal and not interacting with it and having it graze in a pasture, you're gonna be fine. When we try to move the animals or doctor them, do any vet work, that's where you have to be really careful. And breeding and raising for temperament is huge. The foundation, how the zebra was raised, where it was raised, that's all a big deal. It's kind of like children. There's different ways to raise kids, there's different ways to raise zebras, and I believe that there's good ways and bad ways, and each one has an effect on the adulthood of the animal. I have guys that raise tigers and carnivores, and they won't mess with a zebra. So they're pretty tough animals, but as long as you get around them and you know how to work with them, it's fun. It's really fun. I enjoy it. I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Unlike horses and donkeys, zebras have not been fully domesticated by humans. They remain predominantly wild. Dominic's Safe Haven Rehabilitation Program rescues zebras, and they are certainly at home on the ranch.
Started out with the zebras, and it slowly trickled into camels and a few different things, and now that I've had water buffalo, I am hooked on them. They're amazing. They're such a neat animal.
Dominic's property is prone to flooding, so conditions here are not suited to typical livestock varieties. Water buffalo, on the other hand, thrive on the damp, marshy ground. There are several different types of water buffalo, and all are very hardy animals. The Cape water buffalo is the most dangerous variety, responsible for more deaths than any other.
I have some cows I won't go in with. And I have some that I can scratch on the stomach and they'll lay down like a dog.
Dominic's property is well secured, not just to ensure the safety of the animals inside the fences.
The fencing that I prefer to keep the big herd of water buffalo in is 8-foot tight lock fencing. It is good for the animals inside the fence, and it's good for the animals on the outside. The fencing that we have doesn't allow predators to come in and eat the calves, and then it also doesn't allow the animals that are on the inside to jump over or get through it. You know, dogs can't come in, the calves can't slide out, so it's extremely safe. It's been the best thing that I've found for any exotic.
Water buffalo in the U.S. are mostly crossbred for a variety of characteristics.
I do like to focus on a big horn base, and I want the horns to kind of come back instead of curl. And so we can breed for those characteristics, but they do have giant horns. Some are better than others, like domestic cattle. Some have big horns and some don't, but I do like the big wide ones. Those are my favorite.
In the wild, those giant horns are used to establish dominance and defend themselves from predators. In captivity, they ensure the water buffalo remains an outside pet.
I would never have any of those in my house. They have been in my house, all of them. It's really fun, you know, when you're like, hey, walk around the corner, you have a water buffalo following you, or a zebra. I mean, you know, it's fun to stand out. And I've taken these animals, surprisingly, I've actually used them all on set. So I've done a few things in the entertainment industry, and I've had zebras in elevators, I've had water buffalo on stage. I mean, the things we've done with animals are pretty impressive. I think anything can be done with patience.
In keeping with her obsession for four-legged creatures, Dominique has most recently expanded her herd to include camels.
Camels are interesting. I have owned up to 20 of them at a time. I have had Bactrians and I've had dromedaries. A Bactrian is a two-humped camel, and a dromedary, which is the most common, has one hump. And we've used those in the entertainment industry. They're very hardy, easy to keep, very sweet, good animals. Really, really neat.
Compared to her zebras, camels are very easygoing and easily trained.
They're very emotional animals, so they're the type that you want to ask, which you should do with everything, but you ask them, you can bribe them, and you can typically get whatever you need done accomplished.
Their large size can make camels dangerous, but Dominique is more concerned about their lack of manners.
Camels do spit. It's a learned behavior, so they don't typically just spit on you. But in my experience, as long as I don't have one that spits, none of mine spit. But if you get one that starts it, 5 will follow. They do bite. Camels are very, very notorious for biting. If you go overseas, you'll see a lot of them with a little nose mask, kind of a guard. I've seen some pretty good camel bites. But for the most part, it's like anything. If you work with them and not against them, you have a great relationship with any animal. It's when you kind of get into the training techniques and when you butt heads is when you might have a problem, but there's some great trainers in the US.
Train them as she might, Dominique has still fallen foul of their vicious kicks.
I would call it a camel hoof. I've been hoofed by a camel before. I've been camel hoofed. And it's like a frontward kick instead of a backwards kick. They take their front foot and they just whack you with it. If you're gonna get into exotics, camels would be one of the good ones to start with, and they would be, get a gelding or a female. A gelding would be a castrated male. Get something young. I don't recommend bottle babies, but if you get with the right breeder and the right people, you'll have a great animal. Good pet, really good pet.
They may be her pets, but Dominique's herds still work for their keep, and they often hit the road in the back of the trailer to take part in events or to be used as therapy animals.
I think that any animal likes to have a job, whether it's being ridden or interacted with in therapy sessions, anything like that. I think animals do like to have a job and a purpose. As long as it's kind and the animals are willing, they actually look forward to doing stuff. I've done a few events and my trailer will pull up to the barn and I've got 4 animals waiting to go on the trailer because they know we're going somewhere. So it's typically Like your dog, if you take your dog in the car and you go for rides, that dog can't wait to get in the car. Doesn't know what it's doing, but it likes to go and do something. So I think the animals we have like to be a part of something, whether it's being ridden, commercially or privately. I think they like to have a purpose. I like to educate people. There's nothing better than seeing somebody's dream come to life when they actually touch and interact with that animal. All of my animals here are gentle. We really focus on making everything friendly and happy and a really good environment for people and the animals. And when that kid has read about a black and white striped horse in a book, and they actually get to interact and touch and feel the difference between a zebra and a horse or a goat, that's what's gonna help our animals, is getting the kids to learn about conservation and, you know, slowly repopulating, but making sure that our animals don't leave.
Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the US alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow.
My father was very much of a naturalist. I traveled extensively with him. My preference of a boat is to be in the middle of nowhere. I like the outdoors. I like animals. I like to live amongst them.
Martine Collette grew up surrounded by wild and exotic animals. As a child, she spent time on safaris in catching camps that trapped animals for zoos around the world. As an adult, she decided that helping animals would be her life's calling. In the 1960s, Martine was a successful Hollywood costume designer. By 1976, she had 50 animals and had purchased 160 acres in the Angeles National Forest, creating the Wildlife Way Station.
I was probably the first sanctuary of this type created in the United States. However, my start was in Hollywood. It was fashionable to have exotic animals as pets. And my husband was in the motion picture industry. And so I got to meet a lot of the people who had exotic animals. And pretty soon, generally sooner more than later, they had issues with having those animals. And they would call the zoo and they would say to the zoo, I would like to donate my ocelot, my monkey, my leopard, my whatever. And the zoo will say, well, no, thank you very much. We have all the ocelot, leopards, monkeys that we could use, and thank you very much. So what do you do then? And then the Hollywood phone lines began to ring, and then somebody will say, well, didn't so-and-so marry some gal that came from Africa? And that made me an expert in every field, right off the bat. And I took my first animals in the early 60s, and they have not stopped coming into the 2018s.
Since it opened, the Wildlife Way Station has rescued, rehabilitated, and given permanent sanctuary to over 76,000 wild and exotic animals. Yet Martine still recalls the sanctuary's first acquisition.
Yes, it was a mountain lion. It was on exhibit at a show in this very small cage. I felt sorry for it, and I said I would buy it from you. And it wasn't until some months later that I realized that by purchasing, I was contributing to the very issue that I didn't want to see happen. And of course, we learned.
Four decades later, Martine has won many awards and accolades, and Wildlife Way Station is home to more than 400 wild and exotic animals. Still, Martine considers improving the lives of the animals to be her greatest achievement.
Being able to make a difference for however length of time to the quality of life for the animals. Animal care is always the most important thing. Animals require everything we require: food and shelter and an opportunity to raise young and an opportunity to be able to move and an opportunity to be able to live a life for which they were designed to live a life. And being somebody's pet in a household is not necessarily giving them that. I'm not going to say a blanket statement that all pet owners are bad people. They're not. But when you look at the amount of unwanted animals that are exotic animals, you sort of have to say and ask yourself, maybe you should take a piece of the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. And I'll give you some examples. You buy a baby monkey, and it's the cutest thing in the world. I tell people, don't buy a baby monkey. Have a baby. They'll leave home sooner. You'll have less responsibility. Because while it's a baby, it's amazing. And it's all yours, and it requires you. When it grows up, it becomes a mature animal. Instincts kick in. Reproduction desires kick in. A man who owns a female macaque is fine until he brings in a girlfriend. And the girlfriend now has to compete with this macaque. The macaque doesn't understand that there is a problem. So sooner or later, it bites the girlfriend, then it has to be quarantined or it'll be taken away by the authorities, and the man then has a choice. You choose a girlfriend or you choose the monkey. I recommend they choose the monkey. I am not against the people, I'm pro-monkey. I want the monkeys to have a chance to be who they are and live a life that they're supposed to live.
Martine aims to provide the animals with a habitat and lifestyle that is as close as possible to life in the wild. But where many sanctuaries are non-contact, Martine doesn't discourage human interaction.
I believe captive animals should have human friends because they're never going to go out in the wild. And this is a controversial subject. Some people don't believe it. Some people do. I happen to believe it. I like the animals trusting us. When I want to look in somebody's ears, I want to be able to have them come over. I want to look at their ears. I want them to open their mouth for me. I want to see the rear end. I want to be able to give them a hand injection if I need to. I want them to be comfortable enough so that we don't have to tranquilize them as many times to do some basic performances that need to be done.
Those basic performances are usually carried out by the way station's resident vet, Rebecca.
I feel incredibly privileged that I get to go to work every day and, see the tigers. If I have a bad day, I can go and visit with the lions. To me, it's a privilege to get to work on them. but it's also constantly stimulating. Intellectually, working at the way station is physically stimulating. It's a lot of climbing and hanging off of things and working outside in this environment. So it's fun and different every day. I have two favorites right now. Bolero, who's our big male lion. He's wonderful. Although he marked me in the face not that long ago. I walked over there with my coffee cup because I go say hi to him in the morning, and he was snuggling at the fence with me, mooing, and then he just turned around and got me in the face and the coffee, and I was offended, and he turned around. Bolero, and then we have an elderly hyena named Gulliver, who is has chronic heart disease, and in the wild, hyenas usually only live about 10, maybe 15 years, but in captivity, we keep them well into their 20s, sometimes into their 30s. And we almost lost him a couple years ago, and we hand-fed him several times a day for months thereafter when he was not eating and facing death. And so I just got to where coming out and sitting there and scratching him, he's pretty special. This place has a unique history. And I like the idea, from a veterinary perspective, my mandate's very clear. We're not breeding, we're not exhibiting, we're not selling. I need to keep them healthy and give them a good quality of life while they're here. And that means I have carte blanche to do what they need. And as a vet, that's what you want.
Much of Rebecca's work needs to be carried out with the animals under a general anesthetic. After all, the Wildlife Way Station's residents are dangerous wild animals, and incidents at sanctuaries are common. In 2013, an employee at Joe Exotic's Greater Wynnewood Wildlife Park lost a hand in an incident with a tiger. In the same year, an intern was killed by a lion at a sanctuary in California. And in 2016, an employee was attacked by a crocodile in an Australian wildlife sanctuary. As you'd expect, Martine has strong feelings about exotic pets.
A lot of people like to keep reptiles. And by and large, reptiles can make excellent pets. They can. There are things like ferrets, and they're very playful, and they enjoy, and they have a wonderful time. So yes, there are smaller animals that make great pets, but it can't scare the neighbors. It shouldn't be able to eat the people. It shouldn't require such care that you are being cruel to this animal. The animal has to get something from it for their own life. It's got to be good for both parties. And yes, I know there are wonderful pet owners in the world. There are. But when you look at a whole, when you look at the entire animal welfare, again, I go back to my Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. And if you cannot guarantee that every animal is going to be well and happy, then you probably shouldn't do it.
Although Martine is against keeping wild animals in captivity, she's realistic about the possible benefits of captive animals.
This is a very difficult argument, and there's lots of pros and cons, and it depends who you talk to. I find that most people, unless they have seen something, smelled something, touched something, felt something, basically it's not in their world, and it doesn't mean a lot to them. I think children need to see the wonder and the magnificence of animals. They need to be able to connect to animals some way. And I know a lot of people will say, yes, but there is films and there is pictures and there is books. It's not the same. There are pictures of apples and there are pictures of trees, but it's not the same as an apple and a tree. So I don't know what the future is going to bring, but for the sake of the animals, I think for people to care about something, for them to protect the animals, they need to care about the animals. And to care about the animals, they need to be able to relate to these animals. They need to be able to identify with them. They must have some connection. Otherwise, why would they care? So I think it's important that we always maintain a connection. with wildlife as well as domestic life. Whether that be wild animal parks, or whether that will be zoos, or whether that will be some other arena they will yet to be developed. But I think people need that.
And after 40 years in animal rescue, Martine also applies her pragmatic attitude to the future of facilities like hers.
Ideally, all of us should be striving towards putting ourselves out of business, ideally. But then there is the real. And I'm not sure it's going to happen in my lifetime. Perhaps it will, but I doubt it. I would never want to see a world without animals. I would never want to see a world where children do not live amongst animals. To me, it is absolutely critically important that people learn where we come from, who we are. We are a species like any other species. We're just smarter. But our roots are in the same place with everybody else.
The moment I met Allie, the moment I met Allie and the moment we started rolling around and hugging and playing and this and that, I knew that I don't want to be an orthopedic surgeon. I want to be whatever this is. I want to do this.
Bob Ingersoll never realized his ambition of becoming an orthopedic surgeon. And Allie would turn out to be the chimp that changed his life. Allie was the older brother of a chimpanzee named Nim Chimpsky. In 1973, 2-week-old Nim was given to a family to be raised as a human. The story of the controversial experiment was told in the 2011 documentary, Project Nim.
Way to be a good boy.
It was the most joyous experience of my entire life to be with chimps. And I knew that unconditional kind of a, one-on-one, the relationship, that the space between the chimp and you is a beautiful spot if you do it, if you understand it, if you recognize it. And I did pretty much immediately. And it was something that I didn't want to give up. And here I am 40 years later. I became a primatologist, and I have a master's degree in primatology from the University of Oklahoma under the psych department and an undergraduate degree in psychology.
The experiment, involving Nim and several other chimps, set out to explore the concept that only humans use language. The chimps were all taught American Sign Language. The chimps involved were more than just pets. They were raised as human members of the family, taking pet ownership to a different level entirely.
I saw them as my friends immediately. I interacted with Allie on the first day as if he were gonna be my friend forever, just like a human friend, no different. And it surprised me, because I thought it would be like a dog or a cat, or it wouldn't be like it was. And I can't explain that to you. Chimps engage you in a way that you're engaging me, and that I'm engaging you.
The Nim Project drew a lot of criticism. Much of it centered around the way head researcher Herb Terrace saw Nim and his fellow primate participants.
He lived a hard life, and he got bounced around a lot, and he was looked at by the people of powers that be as the subject of a scientific experiment, as Herb Terrace says in the film. He never saw him as anything other, and this is a quote directly from him, anything other than the subject of a scientific experiment. I thought that was fairly arrogant of him.
Scientists' understanding of chimpanzees and of animals in general at that time was still emerging. Knowing what he does today, Bob would have done some things differently.
We've come a long way in the last 30 or 40 years in terms of animal behavior. We know they think, they plan, they feel, they have emotions that are very similar to ours. in their context, but you don't know what's going on in the back of my head any more than we know what's going on in their head, and we can't think for them.
Bob was involved in previous similar projects with chimpanzees at the University of Oklahoma, working with Washoe, who in 1966 became the first chimp to be taught to sign.
I worked with Washoe and Allie and several other chimpanzees over the course of the time I was at the University of Oklahoma. You know, I saw myself as a scientist and someone who was interested in finding out about chimpanzee behavior. It didn't occur to me that captive animals have baggage that really kind of transcends that ability to collect data that isn't tainted by captivity.
Chimpanzees are unique in the animal kingdom. They're as intelligent as a 5 or 6-year-old human and capable of abstract thinking and planning. This often leads humans to forget that they are still wild animals, including some of the humans involved in Project NIM.
It was one of those baptism by fire. If you can do it, you do it, and you're good at it. And if you can't, you're weeded out fairly quickly. I mean, lots of people worked out there briefly and got bitten or got scared or realized it wasn't for them, or chimps are stinky and they smell like chimp poop and this and that.
The average chimp is 5 times as strong as a human, and many people have been severely injured in attacks by chimps. Although Bob and his human colleagues were somewhat naive to the dangers at the time, there was never a serious incident.
No, Nim never once bit me. He occasionally came close, like rolling in rough and tumble play, you know, but I knew when to slow it down and when to go, hey, Nim, hey, buddy, you know, and then calm him down and, hey, you don't want to bite me, you know, and my method is not, because I'm obviously not a big guy, my method was, you don't want to disappoint me. And that worked for me, you know, and so I was one step ahead of that. You know, I don't want him to react or do something that he would not want to have done, but sometimes they just don't have the cortical control that humans do. And so in the heat of play, there might be a situation where he goes a little bit further than he should. So I could read that. But he never intentionally ever tried to bite me or attack me or any of that. No, we were buddies, and that's not always the case with all chimps, but Nim was a special chimp to me, and I think I was a special person to him.
When the research project came to an end, the chimps, including Nim, were sold to a pharmaceutical testing laboratory.
I call this the Chimp Wall of Fame. So these are all chimp friends of mine. This is a painting or a drawing by a chimp named Moja, one of the smartest chimps I ever met in my life. These are Washoe paintings. I think this was in several museum shows, but this is signed by Richard Leakey, who did this painting with Washoe. So I've had an interesting and somewhat rewarding career with chimps. I don't know about the word rewarding, but more than at times trying and emotionally draining and very difficult emotionally. And some people couldn't stand it because it was tough. It was tough to see this happen to your friends. But I don't know. I felt like I needed to do what I could.
Being friends with chimpanzees, you might think Bob would be willing to take one on as a pet.
Well, you know, there's literally millions of dogs and cats out there that need a home. You know, let's solve that problem before you go out and get a monkey. You know, we don't need exotic animals necessarily. I just think that you can get almost as much from a dog or a cat as you could from any exotic animal, and you don't put baggage on the dog or the cat. So I'm glad things are changing. I feel very, very strongly that that the emotional side of this is part of what leads into a situation like that, and like Charlotte Nash, for example, who was attacked by Travis the chimp. I think that those folks are caught in a weird spot, because they got their animals not in a malicious way or not with any bad intention. They just didn't know and were misled by a breeder or someone who gave them the animal, and then they found out that, oh no, that monkey loves me but not my grandkid, and that puts people in danger. I mean, capuchin monkeys, as little as they are, they can put a big hole in you. And I've actually been bitten by a capuchin monkey, and I can tell you this, it was a three-legged monkey, weighed about 2.5 pounds, and it was one of the worst bites I've ever had. I actually had to consult my doctor.
When the NIM study ended and the subject sold to medical testing, Bob's life path was again decided by a chimpanzee. He began to get involved with animal activism in an attempt to save his chimp friends from what he saw as a tragic fate. Legislation passed in 2015, making it illegal to use chimps in invasive testing, and private owners too began looking for alternative homes for their chimpanzees.
Nobody wants a 3 or 4-year-old chimp, maybe, but a 6-year-old chimp you definitely don't want. I mean, because big chimps can be dangerous. They're not as fun, because most people are looking for a child replacement. You've heard it, I'm sure, a million times. It's my baby.
That's a good baby. Her's a good baby. Her getting tired, isn't her? Those brothers are so crazy. Come on, sweetheart.
It's not your baby. That animal had a mother, a real chimpanzee mother. And to suggest that, like in Project NIM, I mean, Stephanie Lafarge was like, he's my baby and all that sort of thing. I'm like, no, he wasn't. That was Carolyn's baby, Carolyn the chimp. And when we took that animal, you're stealing that mother's baby. How dare us, and then say that we're cross-fostering or any of that kind of stuff, which is complete bullshit. And I just don't agree with that.
This is Sequoia Washoe's baby. He's a special guy and didn't last more than a couple of months. But he's right there. And he meant a lot to a lot of us. And unfortunately, because of our arrogance, we thought that we knew better. He ended up not making it. This is one of my chimp friends, and they were drawing on the back of this, and then this chimp got it, chewed it all up, and they put it all back together for me.
Bob and his colleagues eventually succeeded in getting NIM released from the testing lab and placed in a sanctuary. He lived alone in that sanctuary for almost a decade.
That's Onan's footprint. You can see how big his foot was. That means a lot to me, because I remember that day. I remember taking his foot, putting it on the paint, and then, come on, Onan, let's make some footprints. So back when I hadn't come to the spot where I am now. I mean, like, here's Moja holding a camera, very similar to yours. And she was a great photographer, actually. She knew how the camera worked and all that. Nim had a Polaroid, so we would let him take, my idea was that we were gonna let Nim take pictures of his favorite places and then place them on a map or whatever, and on the floor of his enclosure, and then we would also have a book, and we would figure out exactly, because planning and that sort of thing in the 70s was not, not something that we knew or understood much about in terms of chimps. So I thought, well, he wants to go to a certain place. Let's see if he can tell me where he wants to go in pictures and sign and all that, cognitive mapping and that sort of thing. But then the ethical issues started to creep in, and I started to realize that's really silly.
Nim eventually lived out his life with some of his chimp companions, and he died of heart failure at the age of 26. Bob maintained contact with him whenever he was able.
I feel that I am a lucky guy to have had this kind of experience in my life.
and that not very many people get to interact with chimps on that level. And one day, maybe 200 years from now, people will look back at this and see me and understand exactly why I did it, because maybe all these problems will be solved and chimps will be, in the wild and, still there if the planet exists at all in 200 years. And they'll look back and go, wow, that guy was one of the last people to ever get to interact with chimps on that level. Not that I'm proud of that, because if I could go back now, I would probably, if I were God, I would go back and stop importation of chimps at all into any country and all that sort of thing, but I'm not.
In the 60s and 70s and 80s, when there wasn't a moratorium on breeding and that sort of thing. Now we're pretty aware of, because captivity is the enemy. I mean, for all exotic animals. I mean, you take them out of the context that they should be in and put them into a cage, that changes that animal profoundly.
She was crushed. It's like she just lost her husband all over again. I think that's how she felt.
I never thought it was going to happen. I always thought she was always going to be here. I never had a problem with her. It's like an empty space in your heart,
In 2015, not long after her husband Jim passed away, Laura Matson lost another family member, taken from her suburban Los Angeles home in a dramatic raid by authorities. Jackson, an 8-foot alligator, had lived with the Matsons in their yard of their North Hollywood home for 38 years. Jackson and Laura's story is an incredible account of a very unconventional friendship.
She was a gentle animal. I mean, she never attempted anything, but when you're raised with an animal, I think they know not to be aggressive or whatever, because she never was aggressive at all. So when she wanted something, she let me know. She just opened up the sliding glass door and walked on in.
Listening to Laura, it's easy to forget that she's talking about an alligator, a 300-pound apex predator that could easily kill her.
I would take her in my bedroom at night if I could, but someone told me to get a man.
Laura comes from a large family, and while she was struggling with losing her companion, Brother Ron offered unwavering support. He too had formed a strong bond with Jackson, the alligator.
Oh, I loved her. Good animal. I was aware, so you got to stay aware. I mean, it's an alligator. And we were just used to it. Coming out, getting into the pen, doing what we had to do as far as cleaning the pen and feeding the alligator was an everyday thing for us.
But while Jackson wasn't Laura's first unusual pet, Ron has never kept any exotic animals.
My sister, no. She's got every animal. All I had to do was walk across the street.
A little dog named Herbie. And rats. Well, that's because my husband had a boa constrictor and I had to save the rat. And then, of course, he populated. I had a raccoon, I had a quail. So I had a beaver. But I had to give the beaver back. But, and a groundhog, or one of those things underneath the ground in Thousand Oaks. Well, he was so cute, But they need special places. So now I'm thinking, no, a beaver. Everybody's trees are missing. And they'll be pointing at my house.
It was Laura's husband, Jim, who first brought Jackson home in 1977. Over the next 4 decades, the potentially deadly reptile became part of the Matson family.
He loved Jackson. He looked for Jackson, just like he looked for his 50 Merc. You know? So it took him a long time to find him. He first found a caiman, which is like an alligator, but he was mean. So he ended up getting Jackson. This is where Jackson lived for 38 years. Well, the first couple of years she lived in the house. Well, she was in the bathroom, in the bathtub, and she loved the water. She would get out, and finally when she was starting getting out more and more and more and going out the bathroom door, that's when we decided to give her own little thing out here. So, and she loved it out here, I think.
Most animal experts agree that reptiles barely recognize their owners, let alone form emotional attachments. But Jackson seems to have been an exception.
I think she really missed my husband after he passed, because I would see her, she almost went into depression. I thought, Ronnie, something's wrong with her. You know, she's not coming out, something's wrong. And so he'd go in there, no, she's okay. She growled, but she was in there for a long period of time. She didn't come out. I don't know if they sensed something, but she changed a little bit because he wasn't there every day.
After Jim passed away, Laura continued to care for Jackson, although she did try unsuccessfully to rehome their immense pet. To Laura, Jackson was a placid animal who never showed any signs of aggression, not even towards her own pet cats, one of whom still lives with her.
They're not predators. I'm sure if they're out in the wild and they're hungry, of course they're predators. When they're well fed, they're a beautiful animal.
Laura may have thought Jackson to be a beautiful animal, but how did her neighbors feel about living so near to a dangerous predator?
Everybody knew about her, so even the neighbors across the street, everybody knew about her. Everybody wanted pictures of her. Once they saw her, they were fine. No one ever went and turned me in or turned us in all those years. Jackson was not a secret. And for some reason, I didn't think she needed to be a secret.
While most of Laura's neighbors felt safe enough having Jackson nearby, not everyone would be happy living next door to an alligator. Best known for her role as Mary Ann on the classic TV sitcom Gilligan's Island, Dawn Wells is one North Hollywood resident who wouldn't want a prehistoric predator in her neighborhood.
I'd move. I'd sell my house and move. I don't think I could talk him out of it. Remember the little ones that you used to get? Maybe you are from America, but you used to circus. You used to get little tiny alligators and you take them home. Really? In a circus, yes. Yes, little turtles and little alligators, and people put them in their bathtubs. I don't know if they ever grew up. I don't know if they died because they weren't in their habitat, which is awful. But yes, you used to be able to take a little alligator home.
Jackson the alligator had lived peacefully in the Matson suburban backyard for more than 30 years without incident and without being reported, until a man passing the home saw Jackson and reported her presence to the authorities. Ron, recognizing the danger to his sister and her pet, confronted him.
I didn't handle that part too well. You know, he did what he had to do because he thought he was saving the community. I don't know how he really ended up back here in the backyard, but he did. She got a broken heart. He must have got some type of satisfaction from it. But,
know someone I didn't even ever knew. He didn't even live in the neighborhood. He went up my driveway and he saw Jackson, and he was right on the phone immediately.
I can't believe anybody could keep an alligator. You couldn't train an alligator to be a pet. If he wants to eat you, he's going to eat you.
2 days later, authorities visited Laura's house, trying to confirm Jackson's presence and to make arrangements for her removal. But their first visit to Laura's home saw them leave empty-handed.
The second day, I started seeing them kind of trying to come over this wall over here. Then they tried to come over this wall, but I stopped both of them. They had to have a warrant. You can't just come on somebody's property without a warrant. How I noticed it wasn't good for us is because they had a car here, here, and on the corner, so like I told my sister, it's over. Okay, so I already knew this was the day, which ended up not being the day. They couldn't find Jackson when they came in here. So 3 months later, I said, I think we should do something quickly because they're going to come back.
The report about Jackson claimed that Laura had been feeding her feral cats, and even some neighborhood cats had gone missing. When authorities canvassed the suburb, only 11 reports of missing pets were recorded over the previous 40 years.
Never aggressive, never. She was well fed too, so there was no need for her to look for food. And plus she was picky. She only liked chicken hot dogs. I tried to give her fish, I tried to give her other stuff, no way. She just threw it out of her mouth.
Local police and officers from Animal Control and U.S. Fish and Wildlife soon returned with a warrant, required to search Laura's property to find and remove Jackson.
I heard some commotion out here, and I just knew from the voices that something was going to happen.
They weren't going to settle for anything. Jackson was gone, no matter what. I knew it. I think my sister knew it. So, no. I'm not saying we broke the law, but we did get attached. So, they did their job, we did ours. Let's put it that way.
It was horrible, especially when they got a warrant and they went through everything in my house. I'm thinking, there's no alligators in my kitchen drawer. I mean, they went through every drawer. I don't know what they were looking for because Jackson was outside. I wish I would have thought about putting her underneath the house. But I didn't think about that till later. So, but they probably wouldn't have left because this guy took a picture of her. That turned me in, so.
Laura was right. This time, the authorities were not leaving without Jackson.
Once I seen the warrant, I knew we had a problem. I knew my sister was in here sleeping. I knew I had to get her out because they weren't leaving. My job's to protect her. And just one thing led to another, and next thing we know, we got them all over the property. The police officers, animal control, the zoo ended up coming. So.
I had no rights whatsoever. They wouldn't tell me anything about her. They wouldn't let me see her, nothing.
They came back. And they finally found Jackson, and well, we helped them put it in the truck, and off to the zoo it went. And then we set up a habitat for her. So she's doing real well now, real well. Yeah.
Jackson was rehomed at an alligator park in Colorado, and a GoFundMe campaign was launched to create a new habitat.
We were the biggest donors. Okay. But she's happy, and we will get it back out there to see her.
Despite taking good care of Jackson since the 70s, by not having the relevant permit, Laura was breaking California law. But as any animal lover knows, losing a pet is hard, let alone a pet that has been your constant companion for nearly 40 years.
Now that they ran their law down how it really works, okay, I understand now. But at that point, you don't think about stuff like that. Even if they would have told me afterwards, I wouldn't have cared about that law. I just kept doing what I was doing. Because you get attached, and once you get attached, it's it.
I think she probably misses me. I'm sure she misses the chicken legs and the hot dogs. When I go to bed at night, I think of her because that's when she would make the thumping noises. And I miss that, so. But I'm glad where she's at. She's in a beautiful place, so.
Humans have had a close relationship with animals for thousands of years. Scientists agree the domestic dog has been a trusted pet for around 15,000 years. And cats became part of the household from 10,000 years ago. And now it's estimated there are at least 600 million pet cats in the world. Exotic pets have also been kept for thousands of years. It's well documented that the Egyptians kept baboons as pets, and exotic animals kept in the home feature in many ancient texts. In modern times, the keeping of exotic pets has increased. A staggering statistic is that there are more tigers in the US alone than there are in the wild. Animal owners truly believe they are playing a role in preserving the numbers of exotic animals. But on the other side of the debate, there are those who believe it is a cruel practice to keep any animals in captivity. This series explores the issues from both sides, from those who know the dangers, but see the benefits, to others who condemn the keeping of exotic pets. Their stories follow.
You can go take him over to the log there, Chris. In the course of raising animals and having certain ones, sure, I've gotten bit before. You can't be in it 50 years and not have had an incident here or there for whatever reason it might have been at that time. And generally, it's been my own fault. Here, come here. Easy, easy. See, that's him. He's actually very happy about that. He just wants to play in the worst way.
Although this attack was unexpected, for Luke the lion, this was apparently playtime.
See, like that, jumping on me, that was all, he's all happy, but you see how he was stalking in the bushes, he thought, oh, and it's a big game to him. Yeah, it's all him saying hi. He has his claws, but he didn't use them. I mean, because a lot of times just in play, you see that? That's hot. You can't go under the trailer.
Steve isn't too bothered by the game Luke is playing. He's worked with exotic animals for around 50 years, and he's seen this kind of behavior before. Lions are quite social animals, and within their pride, they are often affectionate with head rubbing, licking, and purring. However, no matter what your experience working with lions, These animals are quick and they are predators with speed on their side.
Very, very quick. Say if you were clear at the other end of this pen and he was here, you would never outrun him. He would catch you for sure. I mean, they are extremely fast when they want to be.
A lion can run up to 50 miles per hour, but only in short bursts, so they need to be close to their prey before they attack. But generally, lions are a sleepy bunch, and they like to lay around with their pride for around 18 hours a day.
They look at us as the dominant member of whatever species. We're talking about lions, so it's lions. They want to do what they do to their fellow lions. We just don't like it when they bite and claw us, so we curtail that. Hi. Yes.
Chris Edrington works alongside Steve Martin, training animals to work in film and television. This is a job that requires incredible skill, knowing what makes these beasts tick.
He's like a teenage boy. They stretch the limit sometimes. It's the energy you see is a lot of that. By the time they're 5 or 6, they're much more mellow.
They might be more mellow as they get older, but getting up close to a lion isn't for the inexperienced.
If you didn't know what you were doing, it could be very dangerous. I mean, because you got to watch that. He'll jump up and grab it. Oh, he's watching the rabbit in the sky. Oh no, he eventually would jump at it and go crunch, crunch.
The boom is a great game for Luke. Luke is an experienced animal actor, so the boom is a familiar sight. But Steve knows he needs to keep the boom well away from Luke's reach. This is all part of professional animal training, and Steve Martin is one of the best trainers in the business.
See, we teach them a mark. It gives them a place to go to. Like if the director said, we need him to come out from behind the bush and come stop there and then run off, we teach him a mark so we can call him to an exact spot. And I tell him, all right, and then Chris would call him off. If you watch a lot of shows, you'd start picking up on that, oh, okay, I get it now. Because you see him come up, skid to a stop in an exact spot. Usually it's always a trained behavior to go to that.
When it comes to training, it's all about repetition. If you want to train a lion to perform on cue, it needs to be second nature for them.
As they get older and as they learn stuff, no, go on. He wants to rub on me and say hi. As they get older and they learn stuff, they learn how to learn. And where that might have taken us 20 or 30 times of doing it before he goes, I got what you want now. You notice how he went out and got on it right away? After a while, you get on set and they go, oh, can he do this or that? And I say, well, he doesn't really know us. Give us a few minutes. And usually we can get him to do it.
Lions have been used in the film industry for many years, from Leo, the MGM lion, and the black and white era, to a wide variety of blockbusters still being made today.
The lion forgot his lions. Maybe he was tired of retakes, but he suddenly turned on Bigford and gave him a bad mauling. To Bigford, however, it was all in a day's work.
Lions have long been associated as the fierce aggressor in popular culture. But there's also a softer, more endearing side, as well as being the star of slapstick comedy.
In the business we're in, we don't say they're pets, they're working creatures, even though we have a very strong attachment with them and them with us. Usually we always try to get an animal and hand raise it, because it's not like getting an animal, oh, this one's no good, we'll get rid of him, get another one, yeah, get rid of him. Usually when they come to us, they're here to stay. I mean, we do this as a business, and also, you know, I've been in it, I hate to even admit, since 1967. So I've been in it a lot of years, and you know, we like our animals. We spend a tremendous amount of time. These guys are here every day, 7 days a week, and I have other trainers too that are very dedicated to all of them. So you build up really strong bonds and relationships with these guys, as you can see.
Luke was donated to Steve as a baby from a park in South Carolina. So this young cub has grown up with Steve by his side. This relationship makes it hard to believe that in the wild, a lion can be so dangerous.
Oh yeah, he'll be a real good animal. He's, you know, like you can see how excited he is all the time. As he gets older, hopefully the excitedness will settle down a little bit, because I've been gone for 3 weeks, so this is pretty normal for him to constantly want to greet you. Oh, I know, it's okay, just relax. No,
The relationship between Steve and Luke, like all Steve's animals, is one of great respect. But for Steve, he prides himself on being able to create such a wonderful bond with his movie stars.
I'm relaxed, but I'm also aware of what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of people that really think they know what they're doing and don't. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the private sector that do have animals, you know, they get these animals and they raise them as babies, and they're real rambunctious, and they think because my little girl was around it when it was this size, that she can be around it, my daughter, my son, or whatever, when they're full size. It's a whole different mentality.
Animals, like humans, grow through varying stages of maturity. Playful when young, but when the predator instinct kicks in, these trainers need to be on their game.
The cats are a bit more of a predator than a lot of animals. Like bears, for instance, they're not necessarily a real predator like these guys are, and they're a little more intelligent in that direction. Where these guys basically, they respond out of, you know, contact and well, their main drive is being fed for what they're doing. You see what he's doing right now? He's begging. He says, Chris, give me a piece. Here. That's it. Come here. He's a good boy? Huh? Yes. No, quit.
Juan Stewart is a vet with American Humane, and part of his role is to ensure the safety and well-being of all animal actors.
I frequent sets and even the animal companies that provide these dangerous animals to the films. I've had experience and time around a lot of them. You can go back and forth, and you may have a moment where you're with someone who's very experienced, has the expertise, and you would say, I feel safe. I think the people around these animals are safe. And then you'll have a moment with someone else who doesn't have the experience or the wherewithal. And you know immediately that that animal poses a threat, potentially a lethal threat, to that person and the people around him.
For Steve and his team of professional animal trainers at Working Wildlife, every animal is special, whether it's a big cat, chimpanzee, or even a bear. This is one of the top go-to companies for animals in high-end TV commercials and blockbuster movies. For such a setup, being vetted is important for their reputation.
The American Humane, we have them come up all the time. They brought somebody from Australia, from New Zealand, and around the world, and they want to see how you handle your animals, because they have humane departments throughout the world. And we call them and ask them to come, because there's certain groups out there, which I won't say their names, but are highly against what we do, because they think we starve and beat our animals and all that. So I don't know how you could take an animal you abused on a set with like 200 people and not have it kill you, you know? So it's all a positive reward system in all the training that we do.
With so much experience, the Working Wildlife training is a slick operation. But for the animals, it's often about playtime and fun. They know there's a reward on offer if they hit their mark. These creatures leave it up to the trainers when it comes to the serious side of the business.
When we're on set, we usually are pretty strict. Like I always take 3 people. Those other 2 people, they're not just watching what I'm doing, they're watching what's going on. I'm watching exterior things. And sometimes I'll see somebody, like with these guys here, if you used to have somebody, one person, you got 50 people here and one person out over there, like peeking behind a tree or something, they pick up on that right now. And right away you'll see them like this, uh-oh. I said, who's, and you can see them out there. So we try to keep a handle on all exterior stuff that's going on when we're working.
One of the stars in the animal lineup is a Kodiak bear named Tag. He's obedient, playful, and likes a crispy treat or two. But when you're working with bears, it's always best to be cautious.
Bears can be very dangerous. I mean, under the wrong circumstances. Even though he's real nice, he's very good about things, very forgiving. No matter what, he's still a bear. You know, and you always have to take that into respect. You do the wrong thing and at the right time, and you could set him off for one reason or another. So we're very careful about what we do and how we do it, and we've actually had him in houses and various things. But you know, we go and check everything out before we are ever going to do a job in certain situations, and make sure it's safe for him and for the people.
Tag is clearly one of Steve's most beloved bears, and he is so switched on that he's worked out it's very much to his advantage to be well behaved in order to get a few extra rewards.
He's not real keen on chocolate usually. Look at it. It's good. It's got peanuts in it. I mean, sometimes I offer him like a chocolate bar and he'll put his nose on it. Yeah. Well, bears are very, very smart, and you can teach them a lot of things. One of my favorite is lions. I really like the cats. But these guys they have a different intelligence level compared to a cat. A cat's more primitive, where these guys the primitiveness isn't as strong in them as it is in the cats. So they're a little smarter. I think they definitely think about if they didn't like somebody, it's always back there in the back of their mind, you know, and if the opportunity arose, they could probably take advantage of it. But you have to be careful because they do have their claws. You know, none of these animals, as you can see, are declawed.
Tag is so popular, he even travels overseas to take a starring role in the movies.
He's very socialized with people. I mean, actually, we can work in close proximity. Like the thing we just did in South Africa is with Johnny Knox and him, and we taught him to drink beer. I mean, it wasn't beer. It was we put Dr. Pepper in a beer can. But the two of them are sitting down drinking together, and they high-five each other with their beer. We had 2 days prep down there and did all the sequences they wanted. So he's a very adaptable bear because he's had so much exposure that when he goes to a new place, he knows it's a game. Oh, yes, I know. Here's your animal cracker. Come on. You're too lazy to get up and get it, though, huh?
Bears have different appetites depending upon the time of year. In spring through to summer, they'll eat 3 to 5 gallon buckets of food a day. But in the cooler months, it's about a half a bucket.
Well, their whole system slows down this time of year. You're a lazy worker right now, aren't you?
It seems Steve has Tag well trained. However, these animals all have predator instincts that should never be disregarded. But with safe practice in mind, the working relationship between animal and trainer can be full of rewards.
You can see in this guy, he picks up on things real quick. So, you know, at first when we start teaching him, like I said before, it's a slower process. But as they learn how to learn, they kind of, like these bears, they'll just kind of look at you like, oh, okay. And so you pick it up real fast. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Good. Good boy. Good boy.
The animals are always the #1 priority at working wildlife. And Steve has an incredible setup where the animals only spend a small amount of time in their enclosures. On a property this size, the animals get to roam in dedicated open spaces while they prepare for their next starring role. The fear of snakes is one of our most common phobias. But why do we have such an adverse reaction to snakes, even though most of us have never seen one in the wild? Snakes are found on every continent except Antarctica, and there are over 3,600 species slithering across them. Most are non-venomous, but the ones that are venomous can kill, which gives all snakes this bad reputation. However, John Cann and his snake-loving family find them irresistible.
People are scared of snakes because of the unknown factor. And even when you fully explain it to them, there's no danger if you're careful. They're still got that phobia there, they're concerned. The main thing is you don't try to pick him up, you don't tread near him. A lot of deadly snakes, you can tread near them, they'll escape. A lot of them will put up and have a go at you. They're not aggressive, they're defensive. And their defense is being aggressive.
Given the deadly reputation of venomous snakes, why is it that snakes are the most common exotic animals kept in captivity? John's unique family story goes some way to answering this. John Cann has been living with snakes all his life. The Cann family has worked with snakes for almost 100 years, and John's father, George, took over the snake show at La Perouse from 1920, which is still operating today at the same site in Sydney, Australia. The original show was promoted as the Snake Pit of Death, guaranteed to draw a crowd. John and his brother George Jr. have been extremely close to snakes their whole life. So much so that John is a leading expert and author on the subject of snakes and other exotics. Since his retirement from the snake shows in 2010, John has had more time to concentrate on writing books about these cold-blooded reptiles that have fascinated him since childhood.
Dad started when he came back from the First World War. He was still in the army in February 19. Come back from France. There was nobody doing the snake show, and he was the snake man by then. So he went and caught a few snakes and set up the pit at the La Perouse. And Mum used to be the Cleopatra. She was the first snake show lady in Tasmania when she was 13. Mum worked on the same showground as Dad, and down the track they got married. Whenever Dad was bush, Mum used to do the show at La Perouse. Never with real bad snakes, I can assure you. She probably had pythons and a few black snakes.
It's uncommon for exotic pet ownership to cross over many generations. But for John Cann, the handling of dangerous snakes is a family tradition. The collection of snakes includes some of Australia's deadliest species.
We got most of our snakes from around here, but we used to travel the country a lot when we was getting snakes for milking. We used to go to different lake countries in New South Wales, down into Victoria. But generally speaking, we used to get local snakes.
When they weren't using local snakes in the show, John and his dad regularly traveled into the countryside looking for new exhibits to include.
When I was a kid, I was in a swamp at Nowra one time. I was probably about, 8, 9 year old. And Dad used to always hunt with his trousers rolled up around his legs, and he was in the water where this big black snake was. He was over 2 metres, thicker than your arm, and Dad was battling to get that snake in the bag, but he said, pull my trousers down. And before he knew it, I unbuckled his belt and pulled his trousers down. His trousers were floating in the bloody water, and he didn't see the funny side of it. Later on, he always said, roll me trousers down.
The diamond python has a stunning skin coloration, which makes it an attractive option as a pet. They can often be found in the roof spaces of houses, an unwelcome surprise for unsuspecting homeowners. The keeping of dangerous snakes is a risk, and yet their popularity as pets is growing worldwide. In the wild, snakes avoid humans, whereas in captivity, they spend a lot of time being handled. But are all snakes the same? Is it possible to completely tame a snake?
They all have their own temperament, whatever mood they're in, but some of our deadliest snakes do quieten down in captivity after a time, and people on my opinion, carelessly put the venomous snakes around their neck, and as I photographed in one of my book, a friend of mine kissing a tiger snake, and that's the snake that killed him. So you can never be certain they're not going to bite even when they're quiet. I have had friends of mine in comas for weeks and weeks after a bitten by a snake they reckon would never ever bite them. So.
Rob, who is one of the current snake handlers at La Perouse, also works as a professional snake catcher and knows what's required to safely manage these reptiles.
The experience of being bitten by a snake can sometimes be a good lesson. Best avoided, but I have been bitten by venomous snakes. Out of thousands of snake species, that are many of them are harmless, I could have been bitten by many harmless species. But I think what people are trying to ask is, have you been bitten by venomous snakes? And the answer is yes. It'd be sort of weird if you hadn't, in a way. To be so involved with snakes and never actually experience that part of. And I don't recommend it in any way. Don't go and get yourself bitten by a snake. Our only highly venomous ambush predator is this historical snake. But it's got the worst name of any snake in history. This snake is called the death adder. One of the fastest striking snakes in the world. And they are quite venomous if you measure the toxicity of their venom. And the best way I can describe how venomous a death adder is by how many people used to die from its bite. The death rate from death adder bite before the invention of antivenom was apparently 50% fatality rate before the invention of antivenom.
Even when you're an expert with snakes, it must be remembered you could be dealing with a venomous snake that won't hesitate to bite if they feel threatened. John's dad survived the ordeal of being bitten by a tiger snake.
He got a very bad bite from a big tiger snake on the ankle there, and the snake really hung on and gave him a lot of venom, and all he did was say to his friend who was with him at the time, "Don't tell the missus about it," you know. But she knew, she could see the look on his face that he was bitten. But that bite would have killed a normal person, I would say. Could have been within 10 minutes, it could be an hour or two. But it was a bad bite from a big cranky snake.
Tiger snakes, one of the world's deadliest snakes, are highly venomous and found in subtropical and temperate regions of Australia. Tiger snakes are dangerous, but people do keep them as pets. They appear intimidating, fearsome, but it is mostly a bluff. Experts will say that you do need a high level of experience in snake handling before you even think about keeping a venomous species. Is a snake recommended as an ideal pet? As with most exotic animals, it requires a special kind of person that's prepared to provide the right environment for them to live in. But unlike a domestic cat or dog, a snake will never come looking for any affection from its human.
If you like snakes, that's the only way you can call them a pet, because they'll never get to know you. A lot of people get the impression that snakes do know you. I don't believe it. They'll come to you when you open their cage or their door or whatever. They think you're going to supply them with food. Some snakes will bite you when they're really hungry by mistake, but soon let you go. We're talking about non-venomous snakes. But generally speaking, they make a good pet, you know, as long as you can look after them properly and you've got the right facilities to do so.
Yeah, I would definitely say snakes make good pets. Depends on who you are, but they more cater to somebody who has an interest in natural history. See, a dog or a cat is for people who just need something and it has to do something for them. With a reptile, especially a snake, it's more of an interesting creature from a scientific point of view. They're interesting in their reproductive biology, in their behaviour. They're low maintenance, so they actually make quite good pets.
John Cant is a responsible owner with an enormous amount of experience. He has always been around snakes and other exotics, and in some way, this has definitely enhanced his lifestyle. Snakes evoke fear, but for John, they are a constant joy and a pet that in most cases are easily handled. Knowing how to handle a snake properly is important. Allowing them to move freely is recommended, as it will soon let you know if it isn't comfortable.
You never restrict their movement. If I stopped him from moving, he would get cranky about it, maybe not bite me. If I held it long enough, he probably might. I don't know, I'm not going to try it out. But irrespective of that, you never restrict a snake from moving unless it's a venomous snake and you got him by the tail and you're trying to keep his head away from you. You hold them by the body. But as a so-called pet or that python, you don't restrict their movements.
John's diamond python is from the python family, which are non-venomous and known as constrictors. Tightening slowly around their victim, constrictors coil their body around the prey until they are suffocated and ready to consume. Pythons can swallow prey bigger than the diameter of their own heads, which broadens the possibilities of a hearty meal. The snake pit at La Perouse provides the opportunity for the public to get up close and personal with some of Australia's deadliest snakes in a controlled environment. Rob recalls the impact his snakes have on the public that come to see the shows.
People react here to snakes a lot better than they do when it's in their house. A snake in a snake show is always, people react to it much better because it's in a controlled situation and there's a snake handler there. If you bring the snake over to the wall to show them, they step backwards at the same rate. And some people even scream when the snake heads in their direction. So the people are as highly variable as the snakes are.
Well, they're all very curious. I often used to get the impression at times that people are a bit disappointed you never got bitten, which is probably could have been true. I'd like to think I was wrong, but they're interested on the educational aspect of it.
The shows at La Perouse have been entertaining people for generations. These days, the shows educate people about some of Australia's deadliest snakes that are kept safely tucked away in bags at the snake pit, waiting for their turn to draw gas from the spectators. As each snake is displayed, Rob explains the characteristics of the species and exposes some common misconceptions about snakes. Safety is always top of mind when working with these reptiles, and even though he knows their behaviors well, there is always the slim chance he could get bitten. They have to be respected at all times. But as far as John is concerned, a lifetime's fascination with snakes proves that even this misunderstood and often feared predator can become a unique part of the family. Just don't expect them to fetch a ball. Australia's largest island, Tasmania, is home to some of the world's strangest animals. and sadly, it's best known for the demise of the most well-known marsupial, the Tasmanian tiger. Extinct since the 1930s, it may come as a surprise that they were once kept as pets, but even this could not guarantee the species' survival. The debate around exotic animals as pets is now centered on the other recognizable Tasmanian animal, the Tassie devil. The keeping of native animals in Australia is a hot topic, but maybe the best opinion on this comes from someone who works with the devils every day. Alicia looks after a colony of devils, and one in particular is young Hurricane.
This here is baby Hurricane. He is a Tasmanian devil. He's approximately 5 months old, we believe. So he is being hand-raised by me at the moment. So he comes to work with me every single day, and then when I go home at night, he comes with me as well. He's being bottle fed around 5 to 6 times a day, every 4 to 5 hours. So he needs constant care, constant warmth. He's got a little hutch that he lives in when he's at home with me, which has a heat pad and lots of blankets and soft toys and things in there for him as well.
Hurricane is cute, but Alicia does know that his bite is as bad as his squeal.
Tasmanian devils actually have the strongest jaw of any animal relative to their size. The second strongest jaw belongs to the tiger. Therefore, pound for pound, Tassie devils can actually bite you harder than a tiger.
An average adult male weighs in at around 18 pounds. Its muscular build and strong jaws mean it can tear into wombats weighing up to 65 pounds.
You pop him down on the ground and it's natural instinct for him to want to chase you. So what he'll do is he'll chase me for as long as he needs in order to find my leg and climb back up my body. So he comes home with me and terrorizes my living room. He likes to intimidate you, so that's Tasmanian's devil's game, basically. They like to open their mouth wide and show you their big teeth. They like to make really terrifying noises in front of your face. He likes to approach and likes to try to scare you out of his territory if he doesn't want you to be in there. If he does bite you, it's going to hurt, and it's probably going to scar as well, so you need to watch those signs really carefully and make sure that you are safe while you're in there.
Devils could be good pets. Their size, the sleeping habits, and what they eat is similar to that of a pet dog. But unlike dogs, when Hurricane reaches sexual maturity, a different approach is needed.
He's going to be fine for at least 2 years until sexual maturity kicks in, and then he's not going to be aggressive, he's just not going to be friendly anymore. So I would not be able to hold him up like a baby with his face next to mine and feel confident that there isn't a chance that he would bite me. Once sexual maturity kicks in, he turns back into a wild sort of devil, and his sexual instincts kick in, and that becomes his main priority. If I enter an enclosure where a female is or where he can smell a female, then I then become a threat to his chances to having that female, and he does become a little bit more aggressive and will want to remove you from his enclosure. I actually hand-raised Hurricane's mum and dad, so I was comfortable with them for a long time. His dad was very comfortable with me until sexual maturity hit at around 2.5 years old. I could still pick him up, he'd climb up my leg and be happy to have a cuddle, just like your friendly dogs and cats at home, until about 2.5 years old. And then once he started to feel like a big boy, it became very unsafe to go in with him then. So that's his natural instinct. He wants to grab on. I have a little bit of arm in there, so it's pretty painful. It's like a vice-like grip at the moment. He doesn't want mum to leave him behind in the wild, so he needs to latch on with all his might. Obviously, if another animal wants to come by and eat him, they're going to want to pull as hard as they can to get him off mum's back. So once he latches onto something, there's a vice-like grip there. So if he gets my finger or if he gets my arm, just got to leave it there until he's done, basically.
There's little doubt that a tight grip could cause serious injury. The devil's bite force is an obvious deterrent to human contact.
It's less damaging, but when they're adults, you definitely don't want them to bite you. So you're always watching their behaviour to make sure that they're not showing any aggressive signs like that. As adults, if they were to bite you, it's usually just a warning bite. They'll bite you in an attempt to scare you, and then they're going to let go straight away. So they're not going to hold on, which is wonderful, because otherwise you could end up with some broken bones depending on where they were biting you if they really wanted to. Welding gloves is one good thing that you should always be wearing if you are going to have to handle the devil. It's not going to help you too much, but it's going to help a little bit. Holding them at the base of their tail is the safest place if you can get to it.
Although it's illegal to own any endangered native Australian animals, it's more the Tasmanian devil's temperament that protects it from private animal ownership.
Usually people do try to push the boundaries with things like that. Probably people are a little bit too scared with Tasmanian devils. Tasmanian devils tend to have a really bad name. They'll stand in front of you, they'll open their mouth really wide, and they want to try to intimidate you. People will tend to see that sort of behaviour and tend to think, I don't want to go anywhere near that Tassie devil, so I don't think anyone really even wants to have them as pets, which is good. Sure, yeah, so Tasmanian devils, of course, you cannot have them as a pet. You can't have any native wildlife as a pet. The Australian government just does not allow you to do that. It encourages then people to illegally take those animals out of the wild, which you want to discourage, of course. So Tasmanian devils especially you cannot have. They're an endangered species. They're quite a tricky species to look after, and they're dangerous as well. So if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know those warning signs as they get older, a lot of damage can be done to yourself, younger children, other animals and things like that as well.
Some believe that devils could be taught not to be so aggressive and be as calm and domesticated as a family pet. Twinkle was one such pet. She lived with her owner, Mike Jago, for many years. Her behavior was perfect, up until just after her first birthday. Mike came home one day to find Twinkle had destroyed his leather lounge. When the thylacine died out, the Tasmanian devil took over the title of the largest known carnivorous marsupial. But where the thylacine's relatively docile nature made it suitable as a domestic pet, even hand-reared devils are far from safe to be around. Some experts say that had devils been domesticated for generations, they may have become more predictable and better behaved. Domestication may also help in saving the species. It is estimated that 90% of all devils in the wild are affected by an aggressive cancer which is threatening their existence. Many believe we are witnessing the demise of a species and that captive animals may be the only way forward. Private ownership may still be a possible solution to the conservation of other species, but the issue remains contentious. Is domestication really a viable solution?
In some states here in America, it is outright legal to own just about anything, but that doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't make it beneficial to the animal. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, and we know that. You know, animal ownership is certainly, underscores that, and it's an evolution, you know. The understanding of the care, the welfare that goes into a lot of these animals, it's an evolution, and it takes time.
Tigers and lions, for example, have been successfully bred in captivity, but none have ever been reintroduced to the wild.
To save cats, you've got to have that entire ecosystem intact. Any part of that food chain is out and the cats are going to die. So keeping animals in their own habitat is by far the best way.
Alicia and Hurricane have formed a bond that may just be a positive sign for this much maligned species.
I'm mum to him now, yep. So he knows my scent. He's pretty happy to be hand-raised by me if somebody else has to give him a bottle for any reason, just for one of those times. He tends to be a little bit more frustrating because it's different smells to him. Obviously everyone has a little bit of a different technique as well. So he prefers consistency. He likes to be hand-raised by only one person. It does work best for him in order for him to grow and develop as he's supposed to. I feel like I'm really, really lucky. Tasmanian devils are obviously an endangered species, so being able to work so closely with a species that's so special and so unique is really awesome. And also working with them, you know, you're actually doing something to help them in the wild as well. So I also help run the Devils in Danger Foundation. So Hurricane will be an ambassador species for that foundation, encourage people to fall in love with him and Tasmanian devils in general, which is going to, of course, encourage people to want to donate and to want to help save them in the wild. It's really, really important to let people see them and gain such an appreciation for a really special species that people tend to overlook a lot of the time.